Welcome back. We're here for another Who Dat. This week we're going to be covering Ethan Downs, Oklahoma's own. If you guys have been following anyone local in the area or have been following OK Preps, terrific athlete, terrific kid, just a great win or a great recruit that the Sooners got. If you hadn't already, yesterday we talked about various things with Luther Burden, Brandon Ennis's commitment, and a potential SEC blackball schedule ban by the other power conferences in the future and what that could look like and the implications of everything. Make sure to check that video out that we put out yesterday. This week we're talking about Ethan Downs. Earlier Monday we talked about Cody Jackson and his Who Dat and getting to know him. Definitely go check that one out if you hadn't already. But we'll get into this one and talk about Ethan. If you hadn't already, make sure to hit that subscribe and like button, notifications for us to let you know that we're posting videos every week and what time we do, and comment and let us know what you think, and request anyone that you would like to hear about remaining in this class. I think we only have about 4 or 5 guys left at this point. So we'll get into it. So Ethan Downs, for anyone that doesn't know, 2021 4-star defensive end out of Weatherford, Oklahoma, number 174 overall and number 12 edge player. 6'4", 240-pound kid coming out of high school, just a big athlete, and just a guy that played both sides of the ball, just versatile. He finished his career with 238 tackles, 18 sacks, 2 interceptions, and then rushed for more than 1,250 career yards with 16 touchdowns, and then more than 1,000 receiving yards and 15 receiving touchdowns in his career, which is hard to believe that he had that many tackles, that much receiving and rushing yards for a kid in high school. He was the 4A Division I MVP as a senior, district MVP as a senior in 2020. I know that was a shortened season, but he just tore it up. And he had offers from other big schools like Baylor, Iowa State, LSU, Nebraska, Texas A&M, Stanford, Penn State, and among others. So a guy that was highly recruited across the nation, and he decided to stay home in his own backyard, and which we've talked about previously. You've got to win the big-time recruits that are in your state, and you can't let kids like that get out. So we'll get into it. And Jose, what's your takeaway on him, and what do you think about his potential for the Sooners and his fit?
Biggest thing that I got out of his tape is this guy's got to be smart. Like, you don't play all those positions everywhere on the field, both sides of the ball, and I'm sure he probably played special teams. I just didn't go that far into his tape without being smart at football. You got to know what you're doing. Yeah, I'm sure he probably kicked for every game winner, probably had a great net punt range. Who knows? He did everything. He probably coached the team. But this kid, yeah. He's smart. He knows how to play football. He seems like he's a football guy. I'd be interested to see how his high school is doing now that he's gone, but it seems like he pretty much did everything for him with the stats that you just read off. And it'll be great to see him, as a Sooner. I think that's going to be his biggest addition, because he's kind of coming into a program that is full of athletes, guys similarly athletic to him. Like, yes, he's a great athlete, but it's not like he's something that the Sooners don't already have at the linebacker or edge position. But his football IQ is what could potentially separate him from the pack. And hopefully that transfers onto the field and we get to see him this fall.
Yeah, definitely. Brandon, what do you think about him?
I just think he's a freak. I mean, yeah, that tape is ridiculous. So fun to watch. You read his numbers, what he can do. I think we all expect him to play probably DN linebacker at OU. But who knows if he can, get a couple red zone snaps, goal line area snaps with his frame and his ability to obviously contribute on offense too. I think that'll help him too. I'm excited about him. I didn't know a whole lot about. I knew we got him. I knew he was big recruit out of the state. And then just doing a little research on him, looking at his tape, he's a guy that I think we should definitely be getting excited about.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I'm in the same boat. When he first committed, I mean, I've read some stuff about him. I was excited because obviously he was like the number 1 or number 2 rated recruit in the state of Oklahoma. So anytime you get that kind of guy, you know he's got to be good. But everything that I've been reading as far as the spring practice and the depth chart, the way it's looking, he has a chance to contribute this fall, which honestly I never would have thought he had that opportunity to, you know, initially. But it seems like with his frame, I mean, leaving high school at 6'4", 240, there's not much more you need to add to him other than maybe a little more weight, but not a whole lot. I mean, to keep his speed. At Brandon, I think you said you saw that he ran a 4.740. Is that right?
It's correct.
Which, I mean, that makes sense with all his rushing and receiving yards, but a guy that weighs 240 pounds, it's hard to believe that he's, you know, can move that fast. And I think the main competition he's going to have for a rotational position is going to be with Reggie Grimes, which Reggie Grimes is a terrific athlete. That was he was in the 2019 class, I think it was, or 2020. I can't remember. I can't remember what classes he was a part of, but he's a sophomore. So I guess actually he would be a part of the 20. Gosh, what am I saying? Is it the 2019?
Or the 2020 class, if he's a sophomore.
Yeah, 2020 class. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I was blanking out there. But
I just think playing both sides of the ball is also just gonna help him like so much. Like just if he's on the edge, he's, you know, he knows the little inside tricks, the little gadget stuff that tight ends are gonna do when they're trying to block you. If they're trying, you know, he might feel like, oh, this dude's he's just checking me and he's gonna leak out, or like he's gonna have that feel. And that's kind of going back to Hose talking about, you know, probably this kid's probably a smart kid. And I just think playing both sides, knowing what a tight end wants to do, knowing what a running back's going to do here, I'm excited.
Yeah. He also is someone that I've seen or read, and he gives the impression of as a kid that his work ethic is off the charts. Like I think he just lives, eats, and breathes football. And I think he's very physical from the little bit of the highlight tape. I mean, he's 238 tackles in high school. He's got to be physical, and he's not afraid of contact. And I think that's really what's paying off for him. And at OU already is he's probably putting in extra work, and he's getting, you know, some extra coaching and stuff. And I think he's going to be a big time contributor. And
he's probably bigger than that 240 frame too now, especially being on campus for 5-6 months at this point.
Yeah, they probably got him
cafeteria food.
Yeah, they've got him on a strict diet, a bulking diet, and shredding.
Coach Wiley's eats 70,000 calories a day, and work out with us.
I'm sure
he might be up. He might be up there to 250 at this point, 255, and rushing off the edge. And you know, I mean, granted, there's going to be some competition, obviously, for that edge rusher position, but he might get in. I don't know. I mean, maybe 20-30% of snaps this fall. I guess we could do one of those deals where we talk about percentage wise, what you guys, I'll set some standards or lines and you guys pick the over under on it. I mean, so for this fall, do you guys see Ethan Downs playing more than 25% of the snaps?
I'm going to put it right at that number.
I'm going to go under just because there's so much depth at that position that it'll just depend on like how much work is he putting in and can he pass the guys that have been there for a couple of years now. Because at this point, I think the strength in our defense is obviously they're very talented, but they are experienced players at the college level. So he would have had to do a lot of work to be able to play more than that.
What about over under 5 total offensive snaps?
I don't know. If he gets more than 1, I would be amazed. I think the coaches will probably want him to focus on one side of the ball right now, but it'd be cool to see him.
Yeah, put him at the 3-yard line and let him do something.
Score one.
I don't know. I have a hard time believing that. I mean, he's very versatile, and maybe he will, but you know, talking about guys in that class, that 2021 class, obviously you've got Caleb Williams, Kelvin Gilliam, Mario Williams, Clayton Smith, and Billy Bowman. I mean, guys that have extremely high ceilings and a lot of hype around them. But if there's one guy that probably isn't the biggest name coming into OU and, you know, it doesn't have the hype around him quite as much right now, that could explode and be a big time contributor and actually a big player for the Sooners, I would think it's going to be Ethan Downs. I mean, we all expect Caleb Williams to be a superstar. We all expect Billy Bowman to be a lockdown corner. We all expect Mario Williams to be a big time contributor this fall and many years to come. But if there's one guy that could do it as kind of a smaller name, I think it would be him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, depending on the kind of player he does develop to be, if we see him being named captain at some point during his time at Oklahoma. He just seems like the kind of guy that, like you guys said, his work ethic is up there, you know, with some of the best on the team already. And he's only a freshman, right? Like, you can't, I don't think the expectations are that high for a freshman. Obviously, you want to see them come in and work hard and obviously try to compete for a spot. But if it's true what you've been reading, and hopefully it is, then he's going to be a guy that coaches are probably going to love having in, you know, the defensive coaches are going to love having in the room. He's probably going to be a leader for the guys coming behind him once he is an upperclassman, and teaching them how to be a player at the University of Oklahoma, because it's obviously fun to play football. It's fun to be a college athlete, but there's also a lot of responsibility that we as fans don't really see and recognize, because they're still students. You know, they might not like going to class, but they got to do it to stay eligible. And, you know, some of them are trying to get very good degrees. So,
and as a freshman, as you were talking about, like if he doesn't win a spot, you know, a starting spot in the defensive, which I don't think any of us are predicting that or expecting that. He's versatile and athletic enough. Like, if the coaches, you know, if he works hard enough and he's, you know, putting in the off-field stuff, he's doing all the right things. He's athletic and versatile enough to be like a special teamer, you know, as a freshman.
Yeah.
If he's on the kick coverage team, kick block team, you know, if he's going on the punt team in some regard, whatever, he can do that.
Yeah, he very well might be seeing the field doing that, and that might get the percentage up as far as how many snaps he's on the field. But
if he's on the punt team and we run a fake punt, does that count as an offensive snap?
And he catches the pass?
No, but it's an offensive play.
What is he blocking or something?
Yeah.
I mean, I
He's
guess
for Arizona State legend Turk, and he busts a 10-yard run for a first down.
And he landed a critical block to seal the edge.
Is that an offensive play?
We can consider that an offensive play. Sounds good to me. If that happens, that I'll be ecstatic.
It's gonna happen. We're gonna bring back this clip.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a very good point you brought up. I also saw that he's actually had the ability, like he was good enough to be recruited like to Power 5 schools as a tight end in high school. So, I mean, just having that, even the idea of being able to be recruited as that, you know, in that position, he's going to be great. So I would imagine he doesn't really, I mean, I think he'll contribute. He probably won't get redshirt this year. I mean, I think he's going to play in most games throughout the season. And, but I think really where you're going to see him is year 2 next year. And whenever, you know, Benino leaves and depending on who leaves, I mean, Perrion, I know he plays more interior, but you might have another guy or two leave between then and now, and also transferring. You know, it's very easy to transfer at this point, and he might get thrown up the depth chart pretty quick. But granted, the Sooners could always take a transfer in. You just never know after how many transfers the Sooners took this fall or for this fall. So I think that's all I've got for him, other than I think a smaller name with the highest ceiling that could be a part of the Sooners class. Other than, I think Isaiah Coe has a very high ceiling, but he's a transfer, so I'm not considering him in the same realm. But I think if there's a guy that has a high upside, it would be Ethan Downs. I hate to say it though, too, and not just him. Danny Stutzman has a very high ceiling as a smaller name, so maybe it's both of them actually.
They have very similar tape on the defensive side. They both have a very, like, I'm going after the ball and no one's going to get in my way. I'm going to wrap up and make the tackle. And they're not getting they're not going to break this tackle. They have that kind of mentality on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and you actually bring up a good point mentioning now that we mentioned Danny Stutzman. I've been trying to think who Ethan Downs reminded me of. And I actually think you're right. I think it is Danny Stutzman. I know they're a little different positions. I mean, to some degree, Stutzman's more of a pure linebacker and he's more of an edge player, but I I think they're very similar. And they're both relatively recruited in the same realm, hard workers, get to the ball fast. I don't know. But I think those two guys, I can't leave Danny Stutzman off that list. I think those two have a very high ceiling as smaller name guys. So, all right. If you guys have anything else to add, or do you guys have anything? No. All right. Well, we really appreciate it. If you hadn't already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe button, comment. Let us know what you think. If you have a request for the remaining guys in this 2021 class, let us know. We'll get to that person first, and then we'll put that out. Whether it would be this next week or the week after, we'll get these guys all taken care of and put out before the football season starts. And I think that'll be about it. If you hadn't already, go watch the videos this week and watch for we're going to do Mario Williams next week as well, next Monday. So make sure to watch that video or watch for that video that'll be coming out on Monday. All right. Thanks, guys.